Okay, so moving to now item 8, the Waikura Linwood-Central-Heathcote Community Board report to Council. And Sally, welcome to the table.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Right, as you can see, we have a whole lot of stuff that's delegated to us, like parking restrictions and things. On that page, a whole pile of them there, and the next page as well, some more. And some of these are taking a wee while to get through because of schools and things like that, so it's good to see them come through. What page are we up to? Community board decisions under delegations, and we've got we approved licence to occupy the land out where the what do you call sewage ponds? What do we call them these days? It's got a nice name, I think.
Wingi Manu Wildlife Refuge.
What was that again?
It's the Wildlife Refuge.
Okay, that's what it's called. Out of the sewage ponds, to put a NIWA station there for electronic weather station. Is going to go in there. And we approved Alex and Brenda to go to the community board conference. And what else did we do? We did those things there. And some discretionary funding and youth development funding. We always get a lot of those ones coming in as well. Part A recommendations to council. We've got 5 of these today. The improvements to Woolston Village is the first one. The Redcliffs Transport Project, which there was a bit of disagreement on our board, but the majority agreed with what the staff were proposing. The Gloucester-Worcester Street Park is our new park between Gloucester and Worcester Street down opposite Christchurch East School. And we had a landscape plan and a proposed name for this park come to the board. I think the name is only your part and the landscape plan was our part. So the proposed name, as you'll see, is Gloucester-Worcester. What's the other part of it?
I don't know.
No. Gloucester-Worcester Park, and it's got another Māori name attached to it as well, but they haven't put in this report for me, so I can't remember it. And then we've got the Cambridge Green Po artwork, future treatment options, which is a very, very long report to us because of the damage with the earthquakes did with one of these Po. One has been taken out already, 2 are still there, but they're very, very badly in need of repair. The wood is rotted out. This has actually been with council since the earthquakes, and then the insurance claim was prepared in 2014, and the community board asked the council before it came here, could you please go back and consult with the original commissioners of their artwork? And there's a little group, I think, at that time in council with Anna Crichton and a few other people, and they have sent in the comments, and you'll be able to see that through an email we've got there. I thought the comments by Anna Crichton were very, very good and useful. As if you've been down to that little place, you'll see that their stand they're on is concrete, and it's actually, the stand is really nice as well. What do they call that part? The base of it. Yeah. And so the community board was in agreement with that, and we asked them to consult. But we're also looking forward to a new artwork being put in that space as well. 4.5 is Curry's Road, Tanner Street, and that one's one where, because of changes with New Zealand Rail, Kiwi Rail, sorry, that the project's not going to go ahead, and the community board's contribution to this, they said, could council please look at the money that was going to be saved from this project to be allocated to some of our projects that have been held up. And especially, we'd like you to look at the the one in Ferry Road outside Te Wakaunua, the safety crossing that we had planned for there, and they wouldn't go ahead. The project's been held up because there's no money for the safety crossing. And this is like one of the busiest roads in the streets, which has none of the 40k zone there or anything. It's just, you know, they put people out there, I think, but it needs a proper safety crossing there. And this project's been held up, so we'd really like the council to think about transferring that money to finish off this part of the project for us. Okay, that's the part A's. And within the part A's, you've got mixed up there, I think under 4.5, notice a motion that came to our board as well, so I think it's a wee bit, should have been separated out there in the report, as I said. The significant projects in our area, Brown Street, Morehouse Ave. Now this one is, we had a presentation from staff from NZTA, CCC and Becca, who are working together to develop a 30-year strategy for this whole road, and to try and make it easier to get around, given that that's the main road in from the port. It does need this work done on it. So we had a workshop about this, and they'll be looking at further information about each part of it. And Jake is our representative on this project. Northern Corridor downstream effects. We attended a joint workshop with Papanui Innes relating to the downstream effects of the management plan. We don't have a lot in our area, but there will be significant in terms of Madras Street and Barbados Street, and there's different proposals whether to keep the one-way going down those two streets past Beeley Ave, and the effects of different options on. We want to know what the effects of different options will be on our residents down in that area of the city, given that it's so highly developed and intensified in that area, and not enough off-street parking for people. Okay. We're up to this one here. Our public forum, we've had different people coming in. We've had different people from Wyon Street coming in for a while, or making sending us emails and things like this. So we believe it needs attention. We're going to add it as a bid in our annual plan. So telling you that's coming up, and Dacre Street will probably be added to that as well, because those two streets need a lot of attention. And we had an update from Taylor, wasn't it? And two people from Linwood College about the Life Festival, which has been held now on the 9th of March, and it's the 21st year that one's been held. And we've got a whole lot of community events happening. We've had a lot of community events happening in our area. We've had the Edmonds Factory Garden Party, which always seems to have quite an amazing turnout for the size of that little park. And it's really, you know, just a lovely afternoon of sitting around listening to music and chatting with people. It's very low-key, isn't it? And just lovely. The Bromley Community Fair, we've had that one. We've had the Estuary Fest and Roy Marta Community Fun Day as well at Radley Park, which is becoming a focus for us because we've got our new community garden there. Progress report against the community board plan. We've got an urban forest in our lower Linwood plain fields, which we turned into an urban forest and retention basin in Ferry Road. It's now becoming the focus for a current placemaking and nature play project. So they're having development workshops for local schools, childhood centres and after-school and holiday program providers, but they haven't asked anyone here, anyone on the community board or the councillors who are interested to go would be able to go to this if they wanted to. when's it on? 29th and 30th of March, that one's on, yeah. And I just talked about Life Festival, and we had our first Edible Garden Awards the other night, and we had lots of people who had got awards for edible gardens, which we'd like to encourage as well. Yep, we're on to Community Board Plan Matters of Interest. We have an ongoing long-term interest in the Bromley odour, which we will be having a seminar, is it next week, I think, and with ECAN and CCC to try and get to the bottom of this, because we just seem to be continually having complaints about odours in a certain area of Bromley. And the other issue that's really affecting our residents in our area is the amenity and neighbourhood values, where people are putting up very large developments of flats, especially when they're going into tiny narrow streets like Perth Street, which aren't wide enough for parking on both sides and getting an ambulance, a fire engine or rubbish trucks down there as well. So people, and given that the buildings that are going in there don't have garaging, it means that all the cars will be parked out on the street, which exacerbates the problem. And we've got a lot of people in it really worried about this, and some of them have formed a group called ICAN, Inner City Action Network, to pursue these issues on a collective basis. We're having a workshop, which is, I think it says here on the 20th of March, but I think it's been changed to a different date, which we're just waiting for a new date. And we just need to get people who have a legal understanding of this, but we also need you to have a look at how, how the city plan could be changed, district plan could be changed to make sure that when you're putting these large developments into tiny little streets, can emergency vehicles get down there? Can the rubbish truck get down there? And things like this. I mean, it's bad enough for the time that most of these buildings are being built. They're just like constantly, the streets blocked off, for ages when you get a big development like this. But it's the ongoing effects that we're worried about. How do people cope with this? And a lot of people coming to us about that. Thank you.
Great, thank you, and thanks for drawing attention once again to that last matter. It's something that's been a subject of a recent briefing for councillors, and obviously something that was raised at this table a couple of weeks ago by a couple of local MPs, Ruth Dyson and Duncan Webb. So it's something that's very much on our radar at the moment, very aware of the issues.
I think, if you want to have a really good example, Perth Street's a really good example in Richmond.
Yep, indeed. So that's taken over the 10 minutes. I will take one question on this. Mike, you were signalling a question?
It can wait to one of the parties.
All right, so I'll take a question from Aaron in that case.
Yeah, mine is regarding the parquets, but I did want to ask you, Sally, because you were here at the time, around the Worcester-Gloucester Park, the post-Quake, the first blueprint, that I thought that was scheduled as an inner-city dog park, or that was the suggestion put up by council at the time. What's happened to that? And that site would have been perfect, and now it's not going to be, and it'll be 50 years now before there's an inner-city dog park.
It would have been a lovely site for that. But I don't think it was. But after the earthquakes, and they put in, and the council did that plan first, there was a series of these that sort of linked through that in the city east, sort of Linwood area. Right through from Chesterfields, right through down all those Linwood, Gloucester and things. But councils, obviously, I think, most of these places have been built out now that they don't have the opportunity to buy the land and things, and it never was really seen. That was the only one that came to us, I think, prior to the government stepping in and making their plan for the central city sort of thing.
Yeah, so a third of this could have been used as a dog park area. Was that considered?
I don't think so, because I think it's a wee bit outside what we're looking at.
You want closer to town?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, within the 4 avenues would be really good. for that type of thing. And it's not even a park, it's just like a dog socialisation sort of
Yeah.
meeting place type of
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Sally, for the report and presenting it to us this morning. That's great. So do I have a mover to receive this report? Dion, seconded Yanni. Yanni, yep.
Yeah, thank you for the report. I just wanted to highlight that the Life Festival turned 21 on the weekend, and that's really a hugely significant event in our community boards area that came about in 1998 from some young people and Linwood High and Linwood Intermediate coming to the community board about doing positive things in the Linwood community. So I just think it's important to acknowledge all those young people, the schools, all the volunteers. It's really probably one of the most significant youth events that is facilitated with an advisory group where young people are at the centre of decision making around it. So yeah, I just think it's important to acknowledge 21 years, a fantastic festival, and something that people in Linwood, especially the young people and the children and the schools, and of course our council staff who have supported it as well, can be very proud of. So I just wanted to place on record my appreciation.
Great. Thank you. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against?